All right, so this interview, not really an interview, is kind of an impromptu conversations with Daniel Bustamante. If you don't know who that is, he is the COO and Chief Email Officer, if you will, at Premium Ghostwriting Academy and Ship 30. So the programs that Dickie Bush and Nicholas Cole runs, Daniel has been a massive player over there. He's basically owned their automations and owned all of the email. And in addition to that, he's taken many email ghostwriting clients, built a lot of sequences for people, and it's just really, really smart marketing and email mind. And we had a conversation because we've kind of had a little bit of a, I wouldn't call it a debate, but um, he likes to go through lead magnets to an offer, and a lot of times I like to go just direct, and I've seen better results there. And so we just had a good discussion around that, among other topics. And then, if you don't know about me, I run a ghostwriting agency, content agency for X and LinkedIn. We've helped clients do over $8 million in sales. And we are working with something like 15 clients at a time, a team of five or six of us, and have some enough volume to know what's working and what's not working. So should be a really fun discussion to listen to. Hope you enjoy. Cheers.
Boom, we're all set.
All right, we got the little intro already, but so you posted something on LinkedIn about a month ago that started a conversation, which is I can't remember actually exactly what your post was. I know you've talked a lot about email being the key conversion mechanism.
hmm
I know Hormozy shared some data about like the number of subscribers he has and the conversion rate, and that email is his number one in terms of conversion per person. So obviously some really strong data there. You've seen it with PGA. And anyway, we were going back and forth with kind of this B2C versus B2B services. And I just have some data that kind of points the other way. So I thought it'd be a good conversation to have. Yeah, anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah. Well, first, I'll share two little caveats or two two things to keep in mind. First, I might have some strong opinions, and I might share some of those strong opinions, but like for the most part, they're very loosely held, and I'm very much open to changing my mind, especially if you have data, which I'm a data nerd, so if you have data, that would be super interesting to dig into.
Goes both ways.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, no, I think that was the main thing. Sorry, my second coffee of the day is starting to fade, but I
Yeah.
promise, I'll get in the groove here in a sec.
No, you're good. The late afternoon just hits a little different.
Yeah.
It's a little tougher to stay focused. Cool. So I'll just kind of point out a couple of things that I've seen. And then you obviously have a lot of data from, you have an email list. You've worked with PGA, who has, you guys have several different email lists, Ship 30.
Yep.
And then you've taken your own email marketing clients. So we should have some good data to kind of compare and contrast. I have like a theory of when it works and when it doesn't. And
Yep.
anyway, let me just share some of that with you. So
Cool.
I think for most B2B services, it's best to get leads directly from the source. So if you're running Facebook ads, go straight book a call instead of to a lead magnet. If you're getting traffic through social, go straight to book a call, and or potentially a service-based lead magnet, which is like really closely aligned with what you actually do,
Yep.
instead of going through educational lead magnets. So I think that's usually better. And kind of the evidence behind that I've seen, I'll give you a couple of examples. So my own agency, this last month, we booked 18 calls. 15 of them were qualified. I've been building an email list for, I don't know, a year and a half. And one of those 15 calls was through email. And I think that was like, I'm not an email marketing wizard, but I booked very few through email. The rest of those came from social. So there's one piece of evidence. Another, I have a client who's also been building his list for over a year, gets about 500K impressions a month through social. And he booked 14 calls last month. And this is a CFO bookkeeping client. And 100% of those were from social. I have two other clients whose businesses do about $15 million a year, so good sized businesses, and they get the majority of their clients through service based lead magnets,
Mm.
not educational. So that's some of the data that I have. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of nuance and variables in there, but that's kind of what's convincing me that it's easier to get leads, especially booked calls for high ticket services through the direct traffic source.
Okay, I'll share. Okay, that sparked a lot of different thoughts. The first thing is, it's actually a question, which is, how often do you find yourself sending emails to your existing list, kind of prompting those people who are your existing subscribers to book a call with you?
So every week for a year, and I don't do usually like a super hard book a call. It's more of a here's how I can help you.
Yeah.
And then I have maybe two different CTAs, one of those being a book a call.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with you that it's faster, or it could be faster, to get some of those warmer leads that you are kind of nurturing or have been nurturing on social for a long time to get to book a call from the get-go. But I also think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit on your email list that you might not be tapping into just because you might not be sending enough emails. And
Yeah.
this is a hard lesson that we learned in PGA, like over this past probably 6 months. We were initially sending, so as you know, and for context for anyone listening, we have an educational email course, a 5-day email course, as the entry point to our email list. Like, that's where probably 90 to 95% of all of our email subscribers from the PGA list, that's their first kind of touch point, and that's how we kind of get them onboarded on the list. And obviously, after someone goes through the entire email course, which is the lead magnet, we kind of move them to a newsletter where we continue to ping them and nurture them and try to get them to take the next steps in the funnel, whether that's filling out an application or booking a call, right? And for a very long time, we were only sending 3 emails per week as part of that like post email course newsletter. And one day we kind of started digging deeper into the data and paying more attention to the KPIs. And we realized, damn, but we're not really booking that many calls from these 3 times a week emails that we're sending. Mm. And then we ran a crazy experiment. We went like, why don't we send more emails and see what happens? And like, we changed the cadence from 3 emails a week to 7, like basically a daily email. And guess what? It increased a lot.
Yeah. Did it double? Was it like linear pretty much?
So the other nuance is that we didn't have a lot of clear data when we were initially doing that 3 times per week newsletter, because those newsletters it was like an evergreen newsletter sequence where it was, since we had different people receiving different emails at different times, it was very hard to have that data, like clean data. That was actually another change that we made. We transitioned from having that kind of evergreen sequence newsletter to a basically simple one-off emails or broadcasts that we send as quote unquote newsletters, but like we are basically sending everyone on our list the same emails every single day. Obviously, sometimes there might be like some segmentation things or some personalization things that we do based on some data that we might have. But for the most part, we're sending everyone the same emails every single day. And that was another big unlock for us, because it allowed us to essentially have daily feedback loops and run daily A/B tests, right? And so basically now we made it a rule to A/B test something in every single email that we send, and whether it's a CTA, whether it's a subject line, whether it is the PS, the framing of the body. We have like a bunch of different variables, and we have like a framework that we like to follow to keep it structured. But all of this to say that by increasing the frequency, that was, to be honest, the biggest lever, and then by also increasing the kind of the speed of the feedback loops by switching from the evergreen newsletter sequence to daily broadcast, like the numbers increase dramatically.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen this with my own list. Like I'm not doing that with my personal list, also because I don't really need to at the moment. But I feel like a lot of people leave a lot of money in just for the sake of this conversation, sales calls on the table, just because you're not sending enough emails. And
Yeah.
on the other hand, you have way more traffic and way more eyeballs on social that might
Yeah.
not be as nurture and as warm, but like you have more volume, and that might. And again, I don't think it's right or wrong. I'm just kind of playing devil's
Yeah.
advocate and trying to make the case for the other approach.
And, Twitter over the past 12 months, like the consistency of impressions is like, it's all over the board. And so like, there's a huge case to be made for de-risking and building your list. Like totally get that. In my case with volume, it's like I've been sending one email a week. My client, he's also just been sending one email a week.
Yep.
So not a crazy amount of volume. And then the conversion from followers to subscribers, like I'm sure we could do a better job with that. Like,
Yep.
just for example, my client that gets 500K impressions a month has maybe 30 something thousand followers, and he has a list of 2,000. So it's like a really small conversion of the followers are actually on his list. So I think the number of people on your list and like does really matter. I agree that I probably have some low hanging fruit. Like if I were to launch a digital product or something, I'd probably get 100 people to sign up for a wait list, and maybe 20% of those buy. So like there's definitely some goodwill I've put in there, and like I don't think it's a waste by any means. So let me tell you kind of what my theory is. So because I've also seen the opposite, what you just mentioned with PGA, the guy that you tagged today in your post, Ravi, forgot what his last name is.
Yep.
I watched a YouTube video where he talked about how his email list is like a big part of why they make their paid ad profitable. I've seen the client ascension guy, Daniel Fazio, say the same. So people do, like, I know they get results from email. And I've seen B2B services that have 300K plus subscribers, like, get massive results through email. But my kind of theory is, one, you need a lot of subs, number one. And then two, you need a lot of email infrastructure. If you build a list and you don't have any sequences and you're not sending very frequently, it's not going to work. But if you have the proper sequences set up and you're sending a lot of emails, then it can work really well.
I would agree with the second point of having you either need the infrastructure or at least some sort of process where you're able to constantly send emails, right? Like definitely more than once or twice a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely volume is very key. I think that the asterisk there is I don't think you need that many subscribers if you're selling high ticket services though, because right, like one, two, like say you're selling like a 3,500 or a 5K offer. Like if you close one or two clients from those daily emails that you're sending, or those few couple emails that you're sending every week, it's more than worth it. Like you have a pretty solid like fulfillment infrastructure, but most people like they can only serve like 2 or 3 clients in their capacity. And so if you if you have a couple hundred subscribers, or say 1,000 subscribers, and you get 1 or 2 extra deals per month from sending those emails, then you're good to go.
Who cares how well it converts? Yeah,
right,
you just need a couple of deals.
Yeah, exactly. And then what was so it's either the infrastructure to kind of do all of that, quote unquote, on autopilot, more or less, or having some sort of framework so you can consistently create those daily or whatever frequency you end up sticking to emails, and sending those out frequently. Yeah. So and again, I don't think the size matters as much, when with the caveat again of if you're selling high ticket services, right? If you're selling like a $50 info product, then you're screwed, of course. But you do need the volume. but yeah, that's I don't know. That's my 2 cents. What's your take there?
To some extent, I agree. Like for the average Joe that wants to get to 10K a month, like sure, like get 300 email subscribers that are kind of in your target audience, and you can probably convert a couple of them. But like, I follow a really smart B2B marketer who talks about like you should be sending 5 newsletters per week to your email
Mhm.
list. And I thought to myself, like, could I go do that? But then I think, I've got 1,500 email subscribers. Like, I think that is would be really smart to do if I had 50,000 email subscribers. And it's not worth going and doing 5 emails a week until I have a lot more subscribers. And right now, sending once a week is more than enough.
Okay, I have an idea for you, and obviously you're more than welcome to try it or not. But I think this would be a very very interesting experiment, especially because you already have some of the content infrastructure in place because you're posting daily on LinkedIn. So if I were you, I would again. I don't know what's the best window to test this out. It may be like I think at least 2 weeks would be like the minimum time frame, and you could do it up to a month. I think could be a decent or what's the word like yeah a decent time frame
Sample
or
size or
yeah
mhm.
a good sample size yeah. But this is what I would do. I would turn all of your LinkedIn posts or most of them, obviously the more structure and the more constraints you can find for creating these emails that I'm about to kind of try to pitch you into, the better, because it's going to be easier to create them. But essentially, if you can find a way to repurpose your daily LinkedIn posts, send them as emails as well, and then depending on the type of email and the kind of the angle and the framing, you can kind of assess whether or where it makes the most sense to add the CTA. Whether it's like a very direct CTA in the body of the email, or something way more soft and just leave it for the PS. But essentially, have sending out one email for 2 to 4 weeks, repurposing your LinkedIn content, or just
Every day. Yeah.
yeah, every day.
Mhm.
Maybe just do like Monday through Friday, right?
Sure.
No weekends. You can alternate between like more direct CTAs and more like a softer approach
Sure.
with just a notch in the PS. But all of them having a link to book a call with you or whatever offer. We can also talk about like the free work offer. I don't know. I don't
Sure.
remember how you call it, but you could also play around with having that. And I'm sure that if you do that for 2 to 4 weeks and send those emails with the CTA, you're gonna get way more calls or sales. You're gonna basically hit your all time high on sales calls.
Interesting. That's a worthy experiment. I
Yeah,
think just the time of year with Christmas, I don't know if I want
totally.
to. I might
January might
wait
be a
till,
good month though.
yeah. I have everyone in B2B, they always push back because they always think it's going to be time intensive to get started,
Yeah.
which has some truth to it. And so everyone, like, I've got a big wait list for January already. So it might be February, but I do want to try that.
Well, here's a better idea then, because you'll have time to kind of continue to build your library of content. Maybe you don't have to kind of actually send the same LinkedIn post that you just posted as an email. You could
Hmm.
just find your best 30 LinkedIn posts that kind of
Hmm.
fit into that are kind of related to your service, and
Sure.
then send those out as daily emails, like short 200 to 250. I call them atomic emails, 200
Yeah.
to 250 words. If you can add some media to make them like more compelling and more like
Sure.
visually appealing and like easy to digest, and just find a good spot to add the CTA, whether
Yep.
it's in the body or in the PS. And I promise you get more sales calls. Well, again,
Yeah.
obviously that's a hypothesis, right? But I think
Yeah.
I think that's a very
I could
worthy
do it.
experiment.
That's a Saturday project.
Totally.
I could grab my 30 top performing LinkedIn posts, repurpose all of them to emails. I could even A/B test
Yep. The subject lines.
the subject lines
Yep.
so that we get the highest open rates. And I could probably do that in a day. So it's a worthy experiment. Let's see it. Let's see
And
if
if
I
it
can book
works,
more than 5 sales calls from it, then I'll send you a gift card to your favorite restaurant.
and if it works, that's another upsell that you have for your clients. And the beautiful thing is that it's all coming from the social content that you're already producing and that you have already kind of validated and proven.
Sure. Fair enough. I'll give it a go. So you've seen a lot of transactions happen through email. I haven't. And so my like faith is like it's not super high.
You
So
have to build that faith.
I have to build that faith. All right. So one thing that would be interesting to discuss is educational lead magnets versus service-based lead magnets.
Mm,
So this is kind of the other point that I've noticed. So I'll give you evidence for myself because it's easy to talk about. I've tried two different service-based lead magnets in the last, call it month, maybe 2 months. Before I've tried other service-based lead magnets as well, but I tried giving away 3 free hours of my time to anyone who's qualified. So that means they have to be B2B business owner, they have to have a 20K plus LTV service, and they have to be doing at least 30K a month. And then the second offer that I've tried is just giving away 2 free LinkedIn posts because
mm.
that's what I create content for founders. And so far, I've had way fewer people than would sign up for my educational lead magnets, but way higher conversion, which again is interesting. Like I'm still getting more people for these free service offers than I would for my booked calls.
Yeah.
But, conversion's still really good on those. And I think there's a world where I could say, all right, for every 3 people that I do these free posts for, one of them books a sales call, and for every 2 people that book a sales call from these free service offers, like one closes. And then it becomes a very like, how much does it cost me to fulfill on each of these? And I can say, okay, it's $500 customer acquisition cost to get a customer through this method. And it's something that is, decently scalable. So I see free service offers making a lot more sense in some ways than the educational lead magnets. Curious what your thoughts are there.
It's funny because as I was kind of thinking about jamming with you, these were like those two types of lead magnets were very top of mind for me. And I honestly think they are, well, obviously the first one is kind of the most common one. Is That's what a lot of, mostly like most people who have a lead magnet have, that kind of like educational free kind of asset lead magnet. But there is a subset of that type of lead magnet that we could also talk about that I think is very, very underrated at the moment. But that one that we could discuss later, and service-based lead magnets, I think those are the two most underrated client acquisition mechanisms. Now, that being said, and this is actually one of my themes of the year, I think there's no right way to peel the banana, and I really like that framing. And I think that they're like the question is not like which one works better. I think the question is how can you combine them to get the most juice out of those leads. I'll speak from personal experience here. So, but I started kind of so I work with Deakin Cole, PGA, Ship Theory, but on the side I also have my email marketing agency. I have like this little entrepreneurial edge to do my own thing too. And so for the last, say, like 18 months, I've been also ghostwriting and like building email infrastructure for other people on the side. And at the very, very beginning, I tried what most people do, doing outreach. And I thought, oh yeah, I work with Deakin Cole. People would come begging me to work with them. And guess
Yeah.
what? They didn't. And so after experiencing the brutal, experiencing the
The brutal
brutal.
truth that nobody cares. Nobody
Yep,
cares about you.
yep,
They just
yeah,
care about what you can do for them.
exactly. Yeah, that's another little thing stapled to my brain. Anyway, I basically realized that I had to do something different. And so, it's actually funny. This is very fresh because I'm about to later this week. I'm posting, or actually, yeah, I'm sharing. I'm sharing kind of a process and some templates and some prompts that I created to make this easier for people. But essentially, what I realized was that traditional outreach, or the way most people do outreach, doesn't work anymore because there's way too many people doing it. It's saturated and like it's very hard to stand out, right? And so you need a way to stand out. And I do think that having a free work offer is one of the easiest and most effective ways to stand out and to immediately prove your competence and build trust with people. Now, just to kind of piggyback on a few things that you said, there's a few kind of requirements that I think a good free offer should have. I think it should be already something that's part of your offer stack, or basically one of your deliverables, right? So if you're selling a service, you probably don't want to like do something that you're not doing already for your existing clients or your future clients. So that's the first one. The second one is that it should be small enough that you can complete it in tops few days, ideally in a few hours, but tops a few days. But it's still meaningful and big enough that even if the client doesn't work with you, they still get value from it. And then the other thing is that it should be, in my opinion, a problem that a lot of, if not all of your ideal clients are struggling with. Right. And so back, like it was like May, probably earlier, like March or February last year, I experienced the fact that nobody cares. I sat down, realized this, went through this exercise. Obviously, it wasn't like, it sounds very clear and linear right now, but it wasn't as linear of a process. But I essentially like went back and forth and created my own free work offer. And at the time, my free work offer was a segmentation survey implementation, because it was something unique that I was already doing as part of my bigger paid offer. It was very repeatable and scalable because I could do it in a few days. And my client, even though it was kind of fast for me to do it, my clients could still benefit from it, even if they didn't decide to work with me later. And then I noticed that across the board, all the people that I wanted to work with, they had some sort of a funnel, but this was a piece that none of them had in their funnel.
Mm-hmm.
And I started pitching that. Obviously, my sample size is way smaller than yours because since I'm doing this part time, I don't have that much of a that much availability to take on new clients. But I pretty much pitch, I think, 10 on the low end, 15 on the higher end people on this free offer, and at least 70 to 80% of them converted.
Wow.
Say, or
That's amazing.
meaning said yes. And then most of those people who said yes, basically eventually after I fulfilled the free work offer, turn into paid clients. And then after turning into paid clients, they send referrals. They ask me for more stuff. And so they didn't become recurring clients because I don't have a recurring offer, but
Yeah.
I did more stuff for them. And so
Yeah.
I think it's, like I basically I haven't done outreach in the traditional sense since then. Again, the caveat being that my capacity is very limited, but I haven't done any outreach since then just because this free work offer was kind of a flywheel that, you know, had me or got me more work that I could handle.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's a cool story. And congrats. Most people just go and send, 2,000 DMs and then they realize, oh, I need to change something. You figured it out quickly. Those criteria that you put on the free work is really interesting. I've noticed there's obviously the more valuable the free work, the higher the chance people say yes to the free work, and then the higher the chance that they convert afterward. And so there's a balance of when I do 2 free LinkedIn posts, someone says yes, and I send it to a writer, and then I send the 2 posts to them. It's like, it's kind of nah. It's like, sure, that's like, maybe it saves them an hour or 30 minutes of their time if they like the posts, but it's not that valuable compared to I landed like $100,000 proposal when I spent 20 hours creating this 25-page document for the client. Like I hopped on a call, learned about all their pain points, and basically did it for free. And then they were sold on working with me afterward. And it's like, it's just an interesting like correlation. Obviously the more value. So you just have to figure out how do I provide a lot of value? How is it different maybe than what other people are offering? Because if it's just something anyone can do, why not hire a virtual assistant from, an offshore virtual assistant? And how can I fulfill on that if you're running a business full time with some degree of scale? Like, doesn't mean you have to be able to scale it infinitely, but some degree of scale, right? So that is pretty interesting. I really like the 3 free hours offer. Like that's been good so far because I have a lot of time to soft sell and like prove competence as I as I help them solve problems.
How many of those have you done so far?
So I think I had 23 applications. I would say 9 of them were pretty legit, but only 5 of them actually fit my criteria.
Mm,
And so of those 5, I've been on calls with 2 of them. One of them was like, "Hey, thanks for the free work, but like I'm just interested in your service. Can you just pitch me on it?" So that was one. And then the other one, I actually had to call today, and it went really well. We have the next 2 calls scheduled where I'll do the 3 free hours. And he's like, very good chance that he converts, like
mm.
based on the call today. So pretty interesting.
I think it's still pretty early, but I'm sure as you do more of those, you'll probably find some patterns. But the reason why I mentioned that is because I do agree with you that the uniqueness of the free offer I think is very important. And like in
Yeah.
hindsight, I think and I actually did mention that in the resource that I'm creating for how to create these free offers, kind of with my framework. I do mention that the more unique the free offer, the better, because as you said, it's not as commoditized, and it that definitely increase the perceived value and the odds of people saying yes. But I feel like that's also kind of a moat if you do have a lot of like unique or specific knowledge, which you do,
Yes.
right? And so I actually created a prompt for like as part of this guide that I'm putting together for how to create a free offer. I created a AI prompt for brainstorming free offers based on your offer stack. I think one of the tweaks that I'm gonna make is somehow kind of prioritizing or having the AI prompt you to share some of that unique or specific knowledge that you might have. So it kind of leans towards that direction, because I do agree with you that it's very, it's key. Now, like if we kind of rapid fire here, like does that spark any ideas for you in terms of how you could potentially tweak their free offer or come up with a new free offer that you could experiment with based on some of that unique skill set and knowledge that you have now?
So yeah, I'll just name a couple right off the bat. So three free hours. I think it's painful because if you get someone who's not that interested,
Yeah.
uh, even if they're qualified, because I'm only going to do that for qualified people, kind of sucks. Like you're going to go help somebody, but there's nothing at the end of the tunnel. The I don't think the 2 free posts offer is very good because somebody could literally just
Yeah.
AI prompt and like
Yep.
maybe our quality is going to be better, but it's not that valuable. I could see maybe a week of content being a little bit more valuable in that sense. But if we were to do that, the play would be volume, and
Mhm.
let's go create AI prompts that we can use for all
Totally.
7 posts and replicate that like at scale. And
Yep.
that would be like a good cold email offer, for example.
Yep.
Like specific knowledge could go and create a lead magnet and a giveaway for clients.
I think that's the one.
Like, yeah, like on LinkedIn and say, hey, look what's happened on my account over the last 3 months. Here's the data. I can go create one of these, like create the document and create the post for you to use.
Yep.
Like this, that's a quick result, like huge dopamine hit, drives leads. So I think that would be a good one as well.
I think that's the one, dude. Yeah. You have the evidence. It's unique. Not a lot of people know how to do it well, at least. You have the proof and the evidence that it works, and that you also have the competence to execute it. And as you said, the feedback loop is very quick, and it's also very repeatable and like you can systemize it basically, right? With the right.
Yeah.
Actually, you think you have a pretty solid templates and prompts for that potentially already. So
Mhm.
yeah, what one nugget, I don't know how you go about pitching these free offers, but the way I usually, or I used to do it, was I would start with a like very personalized cold DM or email, but I would only kind of tease the free offer in that initial email, and like the CTA would be, if that sounds like something that you'll be interested in, let me know, and I'm more than happy to kind of share the details and explain how it works to avoid like overwhelming people. So I would just say hi in a very personal way, show that I did my homework, explain or quickly break down a problem that I noticed that they are experiencing, or like a missed opportunity that they're not capitalizing on, then I would introduce or tease the free offer as a solution to that.
Mhm.
Obviously, let them know that I would be happy to do that for them for free. And then just very soft CTA saying, if that sounds interesting, let me know. And I'm happy to
Yeah.
share the details. No strings attached, of course. And then if they said, dude, that's awesome, let me know, share more, then I would explain how it worked. And then the other little pro tip there is I would, the same way that on a sales call you want to, when you before you drop the price, you kind of drop the whole offer stack explaining every single thing that you would do. I would do the
Mhm.
exact same thing, being it's not just a segmentation survey implementation. Actually, as I do that, this is every single thing that I'm gonna do, and people will be like, "Holy crap! Like, are you actually gonna do all of that for free? Let's go, let's do it."
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that could be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a ton of nuances that people don't think about, especially if I were to go in and, you know, build out their convert kits like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
that's a landing page.
Yep.
That's an email and an email sequence.
Yep.
That's like an automation that I would need to build.
Yep.
It's also a Notion page that I would need to build with like that's where all the value needs to sit. And then you have to position the copy on LinkedIn so that
Mhm.
it like
Performs.
the perceived value is really high.
Yep.
And like there's a lot of pieces that go into it. So explaining all of that, it's interesting on sales calls because I could go into so much detail when I'm explaining my offer. Sometimes I like to just dumb it down and like simplify it as much as possible. But when you're doing done for you work, it makes a lot of sense to explain all of the pieces so they realize, oh, if I do this myself, it's going to be a lot of work, especially for the first time.
Totally. 100%. But yeah, I think you should definitely test that out. What's funny is that kind of free offer that you just mentioned, I think that's the second most underrated type of client acquisition strategy or tactic right now. And I think there is
All right, you've been teasing it. What's the other one?
no, that's the one. That's the one.
Okay, okay.
The
Oh,
giveaway,
got it, got it.
yeah, the
The
giveaway
giveaway.
strategy on
Hmm.
LinkedIn. And I feel like if you are able to, and obviously we can get more in the weeds on this one, but I feel like if you can combine the two and you get a lot of, because you that way you get kind of the main benefits of both, where with the giveaway you're getting way more exposure and eyeballs and you're growing the list and the following faster, but you're also able to kind of capitalize on some of those warmer leads or more qualified leads that you're getting
Yes,
from the broader drop, if that makes sense.
100%. Yeah. I do wonder long term if it's going to work because I saw on Twitter the same thing happened. The giveaways crushed it and then they slowed down a lot. And so right now they're definitely working. You and I, absolutely, let's take advantage of that.
Yeah,
And I think it would make sense to do a free work offer with that for at least as long as it's working. You could change,
yeah,
you could always change and adjust with the market, but I think that would make a lot of sense.
yeah. I think you could do giveaway post. I think you use the same kind of framework or approach that I use of you have the LinkedIn post, people comment. When they comment, you send them the DM with the link to the landing page. They sign up through the landing page. They're redirected to the doc, right? To the actual asset. I think at the bottom of that asset, the CTA could be applied to see if you qualify for the free work offer. And that's how you funnel all of those leads into the free work offer.
That's how I pitched my 3 free hours
Oh,
offer
there you
was
go.
in one of those and it crushed it.
Yeah.
So totally agree. That's a great way to do it. I was going to ask you two questions. One was, so obviously you booked some calls from doing that free work offer for yourself. How has your newsletter been for lead gen compared to your content? And I know it's not your main priority, so the volume probably isn't crazy substantial, but just from your experience, what's that been? What's that split
Yes.
been?
Yeah. So again, the due to my limited bandwidth, like I have the ability to only take only very few clients basically.
Yeah.
And so on the other hand, I've done even though I think I'm a decent marketer, I've done a terrible job of marketing my services. Um,
You
ever
haven't done
since
so
I,
bad. Got
e-
more email subscribers than I do.
well, but the funny thing is that nobody on my email list, or like 99% of my email list, doesn't know that I have a done for you offer, and it's kind of by design because again, I don't need to, and if I don't need to, I don't want to kind of try to tap into that goodwill equity that I've been building. But there was a time where I was struggling to land new clients, even with the free work offer, and I did it. I did want to land more clients, and I had like probably 800 to 900 subscribers on my list at the time, and I was pretty sure that if I sent 2 or 3 emails, kind of hard promoting or hard pitching the services, I could get something
You
from
could
there.
land someone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just I do have a few qualitative data points though. So I did land one client that came from just reading my newsletters. Like he was reading my newsletters constantly. And then one day he basically pitched me on like, hey dude, like I've been reading your emails for a while. Like, can you do my funnel? Like I need help. Can you help me? And so
Mhm.
he kind of, and the data point from the newsletter was very clear because I could see then the hit like the email history, and like I could see he was
Yeah.
pretty much reading all the emails. And I've had also from all the people who have read my newsletter for a while, like either reach out asking for like consultation calls or like, like basically consulting, people asking if I have something to sell because they want to give me money and they're, tired
Yeah.
of
Lots of
just,
signal.
yeah, there's definitely signal. And I do think that if I wanted to tap into that goodwill equity that I've been building, there is a lot of goodwill equity that I could, or a lot of actually dividends that I could be ripping from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like objectively, I don't have much data just because of the constraints that I just said.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it is like just hearing you say that makes me think if I have a slow month and I know
Mhm.
I can go to my email list, shake the tree, and if a
Yep.
couple pieces of fruit fall out, it's like that's a pretty powerful tool. If the goal is I need to close 4 clients every month and I'm at 3 and it's the end of the month and I need a client, it's like that'd be a great tool. So great use case for your email list.
100%. And the other thing is, obviously, if you get to that situation, definitely take advantage of that. But like the other question that you can ask yourself, and that I think it's worth asking yourself, is what can I do or how can I leverage my list so I never get to that point, right? And
Yeah,
so basically doing something like I suggested before or earlier on the call, and maybe not doing daily emails, but sending a few emails per week, having, even if you're at capacity, having some sort of waitlist, and like always pointing people back to the waitlist so you have a queue of warm leads that you could tap into whenever you need.
sure. Yeah, I like that a lot. I might have to. I just have people straight going to the book a call page right now, which I think that's fine too. It
I
doesn't
think
have
it's
to be
fine.
application because
Yeah.
I like kind of even if I don't have capacity, I like getting on calls anyway, and I just push it out a little bit further, like the onboarding if they decide to close. That's interesting. Okay, this is another just interesting thing. So a lot of people that came from Twitter and moved to LinkedIn, kind of like yourself and me, aren't aware of some of the alpha on LinkedIn with the sales navigator, connections, and outreach. So, are you doing any connection requests or anything on LinkedIn?
Not outbound, but I'll share one thing that I'm doing that might be helpful for you.
Yeah,
I am, whenever I do get a connection request from other people, not only do I accept it, but I also have like a welcome message script that I send to people, kind of curating what, basically saying, "Hey, I appreciate you connecting. This is what I'm good at. Like if you ever need any help, please let me know. Happy to help. By the way, these are the 3 best things that I shared last month. I'm sure you could find some value from that. Check them out." Right. And
yeah,
like a lot of signal in terms of very positive responses from people. I obviously like I don't, but I try to get back to as many people as I can and like
Yeah.
respond. But I do send those. It's not automatic. It's manual. We send. It's a script, obviously, but it's a
Yeah.
manual thing that I do anytime I get a new connection request. The benefit of doing that, besides just kind of sparking that conversation, is that, and this is a theory, but I've heard a few people mention that, and I think it makes complete sense. But if some of those people do see and do engage with your posts after you share them with them, then the likelihood of them engaging with all of your future stuff becomes like goes through the roof. A, because the algo just starts showing them your stuff,
Mhm.
and then two, because if you actually deliver on the promise and it was good content, they might be more likely to actually get value from it and like it and engage with it. So
Yeah.
that's been kind of my small, very like,
Small hack there.
yeah,
That's good.
small and like, yeah,
Huh.
like low budget outreach approach right now.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I think like another little addition to that is you send a follow-up message 3 days later and you just say, hey, were you able to check out any of the posts? Were they helpful?
Yep.
Just continue the conversation.
Yep.
So something that I've realized running a ghostwriting agency is so ghostwriting agencies as a whole have pretty high churn compared to other marketing agencies. I think that's usually because if you sell B2B, you really sell one thing, which is you make clients more money. It's like, sure, they might care about followers and other things, but they just want to make more money.
Yep.
And so there's not as it's not as tangible as perhaps a cold email offer or a paid
Yep.
ads offer. And so I've been adding uh, some warm outreach specifically for clients. And so far, the results have been really good. And the goal for me is I want to increase retention because it just improves the business dramatically. But I've been learning how to set it up in a somewhat automated fashion, which I know is a dangerous word with LinkedIn, like because they don't like automated tools. So you have to be really smart about how you leverage automations. But I've been setting it up for some clients, and so far it's been like it's nice on my end because you have to build a couple of lists that are really targeted. So just to give you an example, say that you sell to education businesses, info businesses, and you sell to their director of marketing. That's kind of who you go after. You can set up a list that says for every director of marketing from education businesses, like someone that's been hired in the last 90 days, like get them on a list. And you can set up a script that's like, hey, congrats on the new getting promoted or landing the new job. How's everything going from the email side? That's what I do for a living. And it's just like starting a conversation with the right person at the right time. So there's things you can do like that are you set it up once and it's like an evergreen updating list that you can continue to send messages to. So there's some really powerful things like that you can do.
Dude, that's pretty smart. And so in the DM, is it like a connection request message that you sent? And is that how you
So
send it?
yeah, a lot of times you'll do. So this is when you send a connection request, you can either leave it empty or you can put a message with it. If you leave it empty, in general, you're going to have a higher acceptance rate unless it's hyper specific. If it's hyper specific, then you'll have a higher acceptance rate. So in that case, I would include it in the connection request. But if it's just like a list of directors of marketing for education businesses as a whole, I would just send a connection request and then a day later I would follow up with a message that's like, hey, the one that you shared with me is a great one. It's just a value first message.
Yeah. Do the people that you work with typically have like, I would guess so, but I would like to confirm. Do they have like a website that they use to sell their services, or like how do they normally kind of promote and explain what they do?
So yeah, a lot of times they'll have a like a book a call landing page on their LinkedIn profile. Maybe they'll have a lead magnet as well. Some of them have like a visit my website link, but for the most part, it'll be like, hey, Daniel, I see you're running name of e-commerce brand. I also run a 7-figure e-com brand named XYZ. And I started doing Facebook ads for e-com brands a couple of years ago. Great to connect. Follow-up message. Hey, great to connect with you. I've helped XYZ big name brands, grow through Facebook ads. I'm actually offering 3 free ad creatives, companies like yourself who really fit our criteria and I think could be good clients. Is that something you'd be interested in? And it's like a one-word response is all you need. They just say
Yep.
yes, and you say they're already vetted, like you pre-vetted them. Or if they're not pre-vetted, you can vet them after they say yes, because you still don't have to send it to them unless
They
they're
qualify. Yeah.
qualified.
Yeah.
And then you go make 3 awesome ad creatives, and it takes 2 hours of someone on your team who you pay $30 an hour. It's like, okay, that's $60. I send it to them, and 1 in 3 convert to a sales call. It's like I booked a call for $180, and you can kind of do that at scale, not crazy scale, but it's solid.
And if you want to take a step further, the ones that didn't convert, you just repurpose it as content, and you have
Yes.
a pitch in public, way to follow up with
Oh,
them.
that's a good idea, actually,
The
right there.
okay, the reason though why I ask whether your clients typically have a website or not is because I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I recently came across a tool. It's a pixel essentially that you add to your website, and whenever somebody who's on LinkedIn,
I
have
think
you
I've
seen
heard
that one?
this. I
Yeah.
think I've heard of it. Yeah.
So you add the script to your site. It can be your landing page, whatever, like or multiple sites. Um, then whenever somebody who is on LinkedIn visits your site where the script is, you get a Slack notifications with their LinkedIn information. And so
And their email
yeah,
too.
and
Yeah.
so not always, but a lot of times their email too.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that could also be like a dangerous, very interesting thing to experiment with the kind of outreach components that you're adding to your offer.
Yeah. That is, I definitely am interested in that. And I'm trying to like simplify as much as possible because we're like primarily content agency.
Yeah,
We're adding these things to increase retention, but it also adds some complexity.
fair.
Anyway, I was going to say, I think there's a free service offer around setting some of that stuff up for people, or
Yeah.
whether it's a free service offer, or I know this is another B2B marketer. They say every agency should have an intro offer. If you just
Mm,
sell a 5K a month recurring service, like that scares a lot of people and
mm,
your conversion rates can be pretty low. But if you sell a $2,500 or a $1,500 one-time service, like you're going to close probably 3 or 4 times as many people. And then afterwards, you upsell those people to your recurring service. And you probably get the same amount of recurring customers. You're just going to get a $2,500, $1,500 payment up front.
yeah,
So I think there's also something interesting there.
I think that's very smart. Have you considered? I do because one of the biggest lessons that I've learned working with Deacon Cole these past few years is that internally the way we frame it is, or we say it is, supers are gonna super, but essentially means your best customers are gonna buy every single thing that you put out there and create. And so, with that in mind, something that and this is very top of mind for me, that I've been trying to do is how can I create small things that are not necessarily like the goal of creating this small info product is not necessarily to, you know, like increase revenue by X%. It's just to
Mhm.
identify some of those supers way
Yeah.
earlier on the funnel or in the funnel so that you can then upsell them and pitch them on your other things. Have you
Yeah.
considered doing something like that?
No, that's a really good idea though.
I mean, like the
Like
$20
digital
$30
product.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It could be a lower ticket thing, or it could be, a $250 thing. And everyone who buys that, very good chance that they would be interested in further services.
Yeah, and obviously this increases the complexity a lot. The good news is though that you are kind of in a position, I think, where you're mostly out of the work and you have more bandwidth to experiment with new things. But that's another, if you were to create something like that, I think that's where running paid ads could start to make sense. And you run paid ads to the low ticket offer, the
Yeah.
sales that you make kind of paid off the ad spend, and then those leads that do buy, you can upsell them on the service,
Yeah.
on the
And
back.
that's when I think like going full circle back to educational lead magnets. I I do know of some people who have absolutely crushed paid advertising with educational lead magnets, where they get leads for very, very cheap
Yep.
and just with a lot of testing. And then, they're just bringing in an enormous amount of leads. And then you have the email infrastructure and you're sending 5 emails a week and you have different conversion mechanisms, maybe a group or maybe weekly webinars or something along those lines. And you're converting a much higher, it's like, because you have so much traffic, you don't need to convert that many. I think that's where the educational lead magnets can make a lot of sense.
Agreed. Agreed. Dude, now there's a I have shiny object alert here
Yeah.
right in front of me. I love this. This was very it got my wheels turning for sure, and hopefully for you too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I love the Horbozy quote: learning equals same conditions, new behavior.
Yep.
I need to get that like stamped on my wall back here. But so for me, the learning, like the behavior change would be, I think it would be worth testing that giveaway offer first
Mm,
off. And second, I liked your message that you send to new connection requests and how it's
mhm.
like super, like there's some personalization and then it's very value oriented. Like here's 3 of my best posts. I think applying that to myself and to my clients, those two things would be worth doing.
I agree. For me, it's a tougher one because I'm not taking. I had to make a commitment to myself not to take more new clients just because I'm prioritizing just building the audience right now. But well, actually, I'll real quick. I'll pick your brain. If you were me and you were optimizing for continuing to just grow on LinkedIn more so than get more clients, that's like I have my roster of clients. That's kind of on maintenance mode, and like I have them. There's a few recurring clients that I'm continuing to work on, and I don't really want to get more than that for the time
Mhm.
being. I just want to continue to grow on LinkedIn. So if you were me with that in mind, what would you do differently or in addition to what I'm currently doing to accelerate that growth?
So I would say, first off, recognize the couple things that you're doing really well. So you're posting daily. So keep
Yeah.
doing that. You're engaging with the people who post on your stuff and with a couple other people on LinkedIn. Keep
Yep.
doing that. Like these are reasons why you're already winning. So just you need to be aware
Yep.
of them. The posts that have done really well for you have been giveaways.
Yep.
And then also I've seen several where you do breakdowns of bigger
Mhm.
creators and how they grew their businesses in some way.
Yep.
And so I would say keep doing those 4 things
Yeah.
first and foremost. Secondly, I've just like from my own personal data and from client data, videos, tactical 3 to 7 minute Loom videos are like, apart from giveaways, those are my highest performing posts
Really.
from an impression standpoint, which ultimately means more profile visits, more followers. So I'm doing one a week right now, and I would encourage you to experiment with those, especially because the stuff you do is extremely tactical. Like it
Yeah.
fits well in those 3 to 7 minute
Format.
Loom videos.
Yeah.
And then I would say media rich content.
Mhm.
So I know you already do like some detailed carousels of subject lines, that type
Yep.
of stuff, but maybe more of it. Like when you share, hey, I went to this mastermind, here's 7 lessons I learned. Like turn that into a carousel as well and maybe post it a month after, but have it be like the more time people will spend on media, the more impressions you're going to get.
Yeah, I think that's okay. That's a great framework, and I think that makes sense, and I agree. Well, I like the video idea actually more so than the carousel, just because the carousel I'm already creating that one already, and like I'm not bored of it, but it's just I don't know if I can create more than one carousel without wanting to. um,
It's
but
miserable. It takes forever too.
yeah, dude, I know, and I have some help, and still it takes a lot of time. But I do like the video idea just because again, I think it's a different format that would force me to also like learn a new skill or get better at the skill of video, which obviously no downside there. And then I've been really considering to restart like back in I think April this year, some earlier this year I built and launched a school funnel, or not a school funnel, a school group for myself. And that was that was a nice experiment, but back then I was like at max capacity with clients and it was basically a distraction. Now I have the time to revisit that. The reason why I want to bring that back is because going or as we head into the new year, I want to start getting more intel from my kind of most engaged readers so that basically use that intel to inform a what I create on the content side, but also what I create and build on the product side later in 2025. And so one of the things, and you probably remember because I think you were on that group, but one of the things that I used to do when I had the group was I would post like a weekly Q&A on as a Loom video that was exclusively for people in the group. I think if I were to bring that the group back, I think I could start doing that again and potentially either clip or take some of the like a fraction of that video that I'm creating for the group and repurpose it for front end content. And that way I
Yeah.
would put into practice what you're suggesting here, which I
Yeah.
think you guys should do.
Yeah. That's a great idea. And I was a part of that school group, and I think you do a good job of leveraging it. I think you were sending emails,
Mhm.
and then you would put those as like you're building out the course modules or whatever with the newsletters you were sending, which seemed really smart too. What's your goal? Do you want to build a like obviously you've got your full-time job.
Yeah.
That's priority. But you've got several clients. Do you want to like tone down the clients and turn up the kind of education side of your business?
Yeah, I think I've been really thinking about this and I haven't fully come to a super clear answer yet. But now that you kind of say that, like my gut reaction was I think it would be pretty cool to have 10 to like for the business to be making or generating 10 to 15K in semi recurring revenue every month just from the done for you side of things that pays for all of my living expenses and more. And so like basically makes it where all of my it kind of reverse things, right? Where that kind of pays the bills and like all of my full-time job income becomes like gravy on top and like that's kind of the side hustle income on top almost. And then all of the any other like small digital products that I built along the way, that's also gravy. But
Sure.
really like the biggest goal at the moment is just optionality. You know, like I really enjoy, and I think we talked about this in September when you came to the desert to Arizona. But like right now I'm just in a place where I'm very fortunate. I really love what I do. I don't have any financial constraints that kind of force me or have me wanting to do a lot of work on the side. Also, I
Mhm.
don't have the time to do a lot of that other work on the side. So I'm just building my audience as a way to have optional, like future optionality, which I think,
Long-term leverage. Yeah.
yeah, long-term leverage. You've been talking about this a lot on LinkedIn recently, and I think it's definitely the move. Now, another reason why I decided to, or why I've been reconsidering the school group is because I've been basically doing 2 to 4 giveaway things on LinkedIn for the past like 5 months. And now I have like a library of assets. And
Yeah.
this actually applies to you too. So I now have like this big library of assets that I don't know what to do with. And I was
Yeah.
like thinking about it, and I realized that having the school group as a place to host all of those assets in one place would be pretty cool.
Mm.
Where basically when you join the group, you have unlocked like a huge library of a bunch of different things that are extremely valuable and helpful. So I don't
Mm.
know. Like I think that's that and getting the intel from like my most engaged readers and people like that's
Yeah.
those are kind of the two primary reasons for potentially doing that.
Yeah. That's cool. Two just brief thoughts on that. One is I've also heard Hormozy talking about school groups and that the number one reason for churn is overwhelm. And I
Interesting.
that probably applies more to paid
Yeah,
groups
yeah, agree.
than it does to free. Like free groups, you could probably stuff
Yep,
a lot of information in there and people will find it really valuable.
yep,
But for paid groups specifically, it's like if you're trying to get some outcome, having too much stuff in there is actually a downside, not an upside. So that's just one interesting thought. The second was I've realized the same thing. Now I've built out like 8 8 like lead magnets, and I'm like, I've just been doing it kind of on the fly, like, oh, what should
Yeah,
I do for
same,
this week?
same.
But I'm planning on spending a little bit of time this week, like actually mapping out a digital product that I would create in 2025, and like what assets would I want in there, and can I use those for my like my LinkedIn post, and then also to create lead magnets and giveaways so that I build my audience creating a digital product, and then they're the ones that buy it afterwards, right? So that's
Flywheel,
like exactly a
absolute flywheel.
flywheel. So I've been thinking about that quite a bit.
Well, dude, I'll tell you what. We've been also before recording this, we also thought about potentially doing some sort of like live workshop or like like session with people.
Yeah.
I feel like heading into the new year, doing something like that where we essentially and we could just share our process, right? Like because I might steal that idea and just do the same thing because I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant. Especially because I just want to continue doing those giveaways while they work, you know?
Squeeze the lemon.
Yeah, we need to squeeze the lemon. But I think it would be very, very helpful to kind of do that in public, share people how we think about it, and do it live and see what happens, just as an experiment. So if you're down to do that later this month or in January, let's do it.
Yeah, I'd be game. Paid or free? That's the question.
Let's discuss that of the record.
Another. That's fair. That's fair. We need to figure that one out.
Yeah,
Sweet, man. Well, this was fun. Always enjoy chatting with you.
yeah, me too, man. So appreciate you having me and excited for this to go live and see what the people say. And hopefully they find it helpful.
Yeah, all 110 of my subscribers.
We'll get that number up. We need to do some YouTube focus.
We'll have to send some.
giveaways.
We'll have
Yeah.
to make a post on LinkedIn about it so that
Yeah.
people actually see it.
Well, awesome.
Good stuff. Sweet, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.